So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow.
That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Now, once you give me the version, is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. If you can hear me clearly, please type Y in the chat box. I had mic troubles earlier, and I want to make sure that I am coming through clear. Hope you guys understood that video. I love that video because it makes absolute sense. When you know your why, your what has more impact. Same goes with what our theme of tonight is. When you know your story, everything you say after that has more impact. See, if you're in the network marketing industry, which all of us are in, and we have people logging in from all over the world right now. I see Charles is on here from the UK. Oh, what is it, 3 a.m. for you? But Charles is on from the UK. We have people on from all over the world and from all different time zones and from many different businesses. Not everybody on this training is in my business. But the fact remains the same, that we all have to do the same exact thing to build our business. The network marketing industry is a profession. And in this profession, you must become a professional. And there's certain skills that you must learn that's going to really impact your business and set you apart from everybody else. And when you learn these skills, you will have success in anything that you do. Anything, not just network marketing business. These skills have to do with people. We are in the people business, not the company business, not the product business, not the direct sell business. No, we're in the people business. And the faster you figure this out, the faster you're going to have success. So tonight's training is a topic that I have not trained on since 2014. And it's called the Feel, Felt, Found method, but also know your story. And this was even highlighted to me. I've been taking it for granted, do this automatically, but it hasn't been something that I've been training on because I do it automatically. I don't think about it. It's like, subconsciousness. But I learned this long ago, and it got brought back forth to me when I went to the Eric Worre event, GoPro in Las Vegas, in October, on telling your story. And that's something that, I look at myself personally, I've been missing in the trainings because people need to understand this. They need to know this. It's very integral to building your business. You've got to know how to relate to people. And people love to hear stories. They will remember a story far longer than they'll remember a compensation plan or the ingredients of a product or how old the company is or what the founder's social security number is. All that stuff that matter. They want to know your story. Now, last week we briefly spoke about the personality traits, and I'm not going to go over that again, but the shark, whale, dolphin, and urchin, that most people are dominated by one of these traits. And it's good to know because you're going to be dealing with people from every type of trait. And if all you do is approach them from your dominant trait, then you're excluding 3/4 of the population. You're only going to be able to enroll people who are exactly like you. And that's not what you want to do. You want to be able to be a chameleon. You want to be masterful in all the personality traits. When you talk to somebody, once you get this down within 30 seconds or less, you'll know what their dominant trait is. Whether they're a shark, a whale, a dolphin, and an urchin. And now you'll know how to really do the rest of the call, the rest of the conversation with them, how to direct them, where to lead them, what to talk about, what's going to push their buttons, and what's going to turn them off. And most people, they don't understand that. They'll get on the phone with a whale and not know they're talking to a whale and start talking about money, 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 money. And they're completely turning the whale off. Or they'll get on the line with the shark and talk about how many people they're going to help. All the ingredients of a product. Shark doesn't care about that. Show me the money. So it's good to know those traits. And also identify what your dominant trait is. I ask people all the time, what do they think my dominant trait is? And what I found is, depending on what their dominant trait is, that's what they think my dominant trait is. I find that very interesting all the time. A whale will think I'm a whale. A urchin thinks I'm an urchin. A dolphin thinks I'm a dolphin. A shark thinks I'm a shark. And it didn't do that overnight. I didn't learn that overnight. It took time. Joy, are you a dolphin or do you think I'm a dolphin? Joy typed dolphin down there. I'm curious. I think you are a dolphin. Isn't that interesting? Dolphins love to have fun. They're not having fun, they're not doing it. Penny says I'm a shark. Interesting. Oh, Bill's typing. What does Bill say I am? Shark. Well, you've heard this before as well. My dominant trait, personally, I'm a shark. But when you look at the people who know me the best, my family, if you talk to my dad will tell you I'm an urchin. He's amazed by all the facts and figures and stats and stuff that I know. Even when I was back in high school, I loved basketball, and I grew up during the Michael Jordan era, well, Showtime Lakers from Magic Johnson, Larry and Barkley, and Shaq. And I knew every basketball player's stats and figures. And I used to read the LA Times daily. So he was amazed by that. So he would tell you I'm an urchin. You talk to my brother. My brother will tell you I'm a dolphin. I'm a dolphin. He says if Brandon's not having fun, he's not doing it. If you talk to my mother will tell you I'm a shark. Moms know their kids best, right? If you talk to my wife will tell you I am a whale. Always trying to help somebody. You need to help yourself. Always gotta be Captain Save. Oh, can't say that. Always trying to help save somebody out there. That's from my wife. And that's good. When someone doesn't really know, that means you can relate to everybody. And that's what you want to be. If you want to be a big-time leader in this industry, you've got to be able to relate to everybody, not just a few. Because chances are you will interact with all personalities. And when you think you know it all, Somebody shows you something you've never seen before. I'm going through that right now because now it's a different level. I'm not just dealing with different people and their personalities. I'm, I'm dealing with different cultures, different countries, and their personalities. And I am learning it is much different. They think differently. Their experiences are far different. They haven't had the American experience. They're having an experience I've never had before, experiences I've never even of before that have led them to where they are today and trying to relate to that. So it's challenging. Sometimes it's frustrating, but it's also rewarding at the same time because that lets you know that you're growing. Remember what we talked about last week, in the last 2 weeks about growth, personal development. That people fail because they quit. They quit because they hit an obstacle that they don't feel like or think that they can break through. And it knocks them back into their lane, their zone, back to their comfort zone. Where success is the ability to break through those challenges. When you reach a challenge, you know you're reaching a barrier that you've never been past before. So if you want to have more in your life, you've got to get past that barrier onto the other side. Just like lifting weights. You look at your body right now, that's your comfort zone. If you want to get stronger, you want to get bigger, you want to build that muscle mass, you want to lose that fat, then you have to do what's called resistance. Lifting weights and working out and running and jogging, and that's called resistance. And the more resistance you go through, the stronger you become. Most people are not willing to go through the resistance. They look at it as failure. They don't like the challenge. Successful people have realized that there's no such thing as failure, just results. And that each challenge is just something to learn more, grow more, and become better. Mindset. We talked about that last week. Do you see the glass half full or half empty? Is it an issue or is it progress? So now we're going to talk about the feel, felt, found method. To apply it with your story. So let's see. Do I want to do the story part first? Yeah, let's do the story part first. Know your story. You cannot control other people. You cannot control what they do, how fast they do it in, when they do it. How many times have you been in a situation with people in your team that you want it for them more than they want it for themselves? Every single one of you. I even have leaders who may say that, and I look at them like, I want it for you more than you do for yourself. You look, I don't have a sponsor. My CEO will look at me and think that he wants it more than I want it for myself. That. But you guys go through the same things as leaders. You're looking at the people on your team and your business. But they have to want it for themselves and be willing to put in the work. So what you master, you have to master your story. Master the things you have control of. This is very important to understand. Everything else will take care of itself. Remember we talked about last week about the magnifying glass and looking at the world and the things that are happening outside of your field of view that is impacting what's happening inside your circle? You may not have any impact on that. You don't know what's going on. You can't worry about that. You got to focus on the goal, not micromanage. So one thing you have control on is your story. Now, this is my 17th year this month. I was first week of December 1998 when I got involved in network marketing. Now, technically, I left the industry for about 4 or 5 years. So I don't know, it might be maybe my 12th or 13th year if you add on consistency. But this is my 17th year because I never really got the personal development, even though I wasn't doing a network marketing company. And I remember the very first presentation I ever went to in Atlanta, Georgia, It was snowing. It was cold. And when I say cold, I'm from California, but it was cold. And my sponsor at the time was my Morehouse brother, Robert Brown. He's currently in a company called Empower Network. Drove around town and picked up 4 of his guests in a 2-seater. You ask, how's that possible? It was possible. We made it happen. And we got down to the meeting, and it was in a hotel in College Park near the airport. And the presenter was a gentleman named Darren Elijah. I still remember his name. I wasn't a part of his team. He lives in Atlanta. I think he's part of a company called Paycation Travel today. Facebook and the internet allows you to keep in touch with people, right? You didn't have that access back in the day. And I remember hearing his presentation and how he broke down, how corporate America works and how the middle class is disappearing and that you must have a plan B. And it just opened my mind to something completely new. I remember that. In those early days, I don't remember the presentations, but I remember the stories. I remember a woman named Pasha Oliver, how she talked about how her older brother, Chris Oliver, had become a regional vice president in this company, was making all this money and was trying to get her in for the longest time, and she didn't want to have it. She thought that she was, God's the planet to man and to everybody. She was beautiful. She had her thing going, her little job going. Then she got laid off from her job. Thought that she can get another job real quick, and it didn't happen. But she still didn't want to work with her brother. Now think about this. How many times has this happened? This goes for family members. Remember what they tell you when you get started? Make a list of everybody you know. Those are the people we're going to call. Wrong. Do not contact them to join your business. Contact them to maybe be your customer and ask if they can give you referrals, but do not ask them to be in your business. People like to buy, they don't like to be sold. Family, you call your family, talk about, we're going to be millionaires. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. They've known you since you were pooping in diapers. What do you know about business? They're not going to respect you on that level. They love you. So here you have making 6, almost 7 figures a year, retired, and his own sister still won't join the business until her car got repoed. That was a wake-up call when she woke up the next morning, went out to the driveway, and the car was gone. I think I better give my brother a call. She ended up marrying a gentleman named Steve Carter. If you guys were following me when I was at the GoPro event in Vegas, I took a selfie with me and Steve. He's in, he just left 5 Links. I forgot what company he hopped over to now. But he had a huge impact on me early on. He's the one where I learned this found method from. So she married him. Now, he was in the company for 8 months and had no success. No success. And one day, he was at his home. He was behind his rent by like 3 or 4 months. He had an eviction notice. One day, they came and knocked on his door to evict him. He turned off all the lights, all the TVs, everything, and was hiding underneath a windowsill in a bedroom and was trying to be as quiet as a mouse so that nobody would know he was there. And when they left, that was the day he said, you know what? Enough is enough. Within 6 to 8 months later, he became a regional vice president within the company. Ended up meeting Pasha. They got married, and the rest is history. They've been millionaires for a decade. Then I had my other upline mentor named Sam Oram, who actually went to school to become a doctor and realized that, yeah, he was going to make a lot of money being a doctor, but it wasn't fulfilling for him. And he walked away from a promising career as a doctor to do network marketing. Everybody laughed at him about that. Everybody thought you're crazy. He did it anyway. It was big. His mom was working as a seamstress in a shop for over 20 years. She had, I think they call it carpal tunnel or whatever, in her foot, in her hand, from working the pedals in her hands in a continuous motion for 20 years. He pulled up to her job in a limo, walked in with roses and balloons and said, "This is your last day at work." Walked her out, retired his mom. She's never been back to work since. And that happened in, I think, 1997. And I'm Facebook friends with her today. He owns his own business. Another. Then you had his upline, his buddy named Montrell Jackson, who has 7 or 8 kids from Alabama. And times got so hard that he had to leave his family and the state of Alabama, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, moved in with Sam as roommates to make money to send back home. And he always said the story, in his apartment with his kids were always loud, right? And they are always making a lot of noise and jumping up and down. And that the person on the bottom floor would take the broom and hit it on the roof and tell them to stop jumping. And the kids would keep jumping up and down anyway. And he would say the times that, I don't know if this is a black thing or what, but when you got all when the mail hits you and every single one is a bill collector, bills that you owe, he'd throw it up in the air. Whatever one he caught, that's the bill that got paid that month. I remember his story. And when I think back, when I think of names of all the top of my old mentors, they had a story that they shared every time a microphone was put in front of their mouth. They spent more time on their story than they ever talked about the company and the compensation plan. I know my own story. I've got several of them. I say at the beginning of every presentation, what do I say? They tell us that if we want to be successful in America, there's a couple of things that we must do. Go to school, get good grades, get a good, safe, secure job, a job that will take care of you for the rest of your life. That's exactly what I did. I graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Went on to have a corporate career going. Due to no fault of my own, I was laid off twice. Said, enough is enough. I need to have my own business. I don't always tell the story of when I first started network marketing. My family was completely against it. Spent all that money to put me through school for me to turn around and want to do network marketing. Father is highly successful. He's one of those that actually made it in corporate America, where he started off washing cars because the company had a no hiring of minorities outside of being janitors and driving corporate execs around town. He has a college degree and is washing company cars and driving the big guys around town in LA. Ends up becoming the CEO of the company. 40-year career and retired with full pension. That is not the norm. So I had to go against that mentality, that thinking of him wanting me to be just like him. It didn't work out that way. And I think the day there's 2 days he got laid off for the second time. He tried to use his influence to try to get me some gigs at different companies and jobs about around 2007, 2008. And I can't tell you how many meetings, when we call these the back door meetings, where you don't go through the normal interview process. It's all on who you know. That's how it works when you get to the higher levels. I can't tell you how many of those meetings I went to, and even that, there were still no jobs available because of the economic recession that hit at that same exact time. And when my father realized, wow, that's not even working, I guess, I had to do my own thing. And then the day I walked off my job and retired at the age of 36 and still have money in the bank, more money than I did when I had a job, I think he kind of realized, what I'm doing is the right for me and my generation at this time. Also, the fact I don't remember the last time I ever had to ask and borrow money from my parents. I don't. And he still sees I'm able to take care of my family. We're doing well. But it wasn't easy. It was hard those first few years, having to sit down and have to hear him talk about, you have a family, you have responsibilities, and you're running around doing this pyramid stuff and blah, 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 blah. That wasn't easy. I never gave in, kept pushing forward. Another story, when I had my real big break, 2011 was probably one of the worst years my family has ever had. My family went through a lot that year, a lot that I've never even shared publicly. Also, at the same time, going into 2012, when I got a layoff notice again on my job. Only this time they said, well, it was around March, February or March. They said, things are changing. We may close this branch. So we're either going to relocate everybody up to San Jose, California, or those who do not relocate are going to get laid off. We're just not sure yet. But you can take the opportunity to go ahead and say you want to get relocated and not have to worry about it, and we'll just relocate you right now. Or you can take your chances to see if we're going to keep this branch open. So we're not saying you need to go look for a new job, but you might have to. That uncertainty at the time, my wife wasn't working. I was making good money in the network marketing company I was with. Not enough where I felt comfortable walking off my job. See, here's one mistake a lot of people make, and my mentors taught me. Even if you're making a lot of money, do not walk off your job until you've got a year to 2 years money saved up for a rainy day. So if something happens where you're not able to work, your bills will still be paid for the next 2 years. So I believed that. But I ended up getting terminated from the company I was with. That's another story. It made public. You can go back in Troy Dooley's archives. He did a whole story on it back in 2012. And I lost 2 months worth of income. And I got a layoff notice all at the same time. I had to make something happen. I had to do it. So what happened was I put my head down. There was no maybe this will work. Maybe I'll fall back. It was success. There's no other option. 90 days later, I was making $12,000 a month. Now, in those situations, a lot of people, most people, aren't able to perform in that type of a situation. And I do not advise you to join a network marketing company when you're in that situation, putting all your eggs and hoping that it can happen. I have had years of experience to know exactly what to do to make it happen. I had to step out of my comfort zone and actually put all of those skills to work. But if I was brand new, we got to be realistic. Network marketing is not the lottery. If you say, "Oh, I got laid off yesterday and I've got to make this work so I can pay rent next month," no. It doesn't work that way. Only a small percentage of people are able to operate in that stressful type of environment. Because when you're out there talking to people, that stress is coming through you. See, to be successful in this business takes a certain level of swag. You've got to have the right posture. And just how, dogs can sense if you're scared, the fear on you, people can sense it as well. People can sense your desperation, that you need them. You got to approach this business like you don't need anybody. They need you. So when you're in a situation like able to, even though you're desperate, to not show you're desperate. Not many people are able to do that. So I strongly advise, if you want to have long-term success in network marketing, you must first have a secure income so that you can build your business stress-free, where regardless of what the results in your business on the short term is not going to affect whether you can put food on the table. I learned that from one of my mentors. But I got to the point where I was making twice as much as I was in my home-based business as I was on my job, walked away from my job, and I've never looked back ever since. That's my story. Then I have many stories within network marketing. How about, we talk about the emotional roller coaster? Don't think that it's always going to be up, up, and up. You will have down, down, downs. You will have the valley. We talked about that last week. You'll go from, my best month at one point, I did $42,000 in 1 month. So all of a sudden I only did $2,000 in another month. I've lost 90% of my organization. I've been terminated from companies. I've had my income taken from me. I've had leaders who said they were ride and die turn around and stab me in the back. I've had one leader that even tried to throw my marriage into the mix by sharing that if I didn't have success, that I would end up getting a divorce because my wife was going to leave me. Completely made it up in an effort to promote his own business. Everything that I could think of happened, and not even think of happened, has happened. That's life. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. We all go through stuff that's out of our control. It's how you handle what happens to you that makes all the difference. And your ability to tell your story makes you a real person. It makes you accessible. It makes you human. It makes other people think, wow, if that person had problems and they found success, I have problems, I can find success, which leads us into the feel, felt, found method. So what you want to do before the feel, felt, found is, what is your story? Have you shared your story with other people? You want to become a master at telling your own story. And some of you may say, you know, I don't really have a story. My life is kind of boring. Then use somebody else's story until you can develop one of your own. See, that's what I do. I was 21, 22 years old at the time. I didn't have a story yet. I was just getting ready to vote and drink for the first time legally. I didn't have a story to tell yet. I'm a kid. So I used other people's story. That's why I still know those stories today. And I still use their stories today. Here's one story that's scary. When I was on a job before I got laid off back in 2007, I remember I took the family trip we went to Florida for Disney World for the first time. And while on that trip, I got a phone call from a coworker who said they're calling people back from vacation. Did you get a phone call yet? No. What's going on? She said, I don't know, but they're telling people to come back in, that it's an emergency. So while I'm scared that I might get that phone call, come back to California. I never got the phone call. But I found out what happened. One of my good friends was a salesman. We were in the newspaper industry at that time. I was in the newspaper. The company I worked for sold ink to all the California newspapers that they used to print on the newspapers. We had the oil crisis that took place. Remember when gas prices just shot up like almost overnight, and it created a domino effect? The oil market went kaput. There was some huge storm in the Gulf that shut down the Gulf pipes. And here's what ended up happening. When the prices of oil went up, the price of gas went up. And we made ink, which meant we had to get deliveries to us from across the country. So their gas went up. And then we had to raise prices on our consumers, our customers, which was the newspapers. And what did the newspapers have to do? They had to raise prices for people buying their newspapers. Now, this is at a time where the internet is really exploding. Who's reading newspapers anymore? We can get it online. Now they're going to raise the price on top of that? So just to be able to stay in business, people started having to get laid off. So they called the salesman in. He'd been working there for like 16 years. All he's done is professional life. They told him, we're sorry that your services are no longer needed. Well, what's he going to do? Go to one of our competitors? They're laying people off as well. So it's not like he can get another job in our industry. So what are his options? Go back to see if he can learn another skill. How long is that going to take? He's got bills to pay next month. His wife wasn't working. His wife's mother moved in with them to help take care of their little kid. And here's the crazy thing that happened. 3 months later, because in California, if you get laid off, you get on something that's, I think it was called COBRA. Those in California know what that is, public assistance with medical and all that stuff. And when he got laid off, 3 months later, he has a stroke because he was under stress. And as he lays in the hospital bed, his wife comes in the room and tells him that the coverage he had The medical coverage had elapsed a few days before he had the stroke. So now he's laying in the hospital. No job, no medical coverage, and a stroke. No income. That was a scary situation. That was the moment that I came back to network marketing. I hadn't gotten laid off yet, but I knew it was coming. That's when I came back into network marketing, and that's when and my business really started to take off. I was scared to death of that. And I ended up getting laid off anyway, but when I did get laid off, I had an income coming in from network marketing as well to kind of carry me till I could find another job. These are stories that everybody goes through. You guys have seen my chart about say goodbye to the middle class. That right now in the United States, we have 38% of all Americans make less than $20,000 a year. The federal poverty rate for a family of 5 is $28,000 a year. So you're telling me that 38% of the population is living $8,000 below poverty. 51% of all Americans are making less than $30,000 a year, right at the poverty level. So half of America is at poverty level. Don't tell me people don't have stories out there. Every single one of you do. So you want to be able to break down that barrier of talking about your business? You've got to tell the story. Lead with the story. So let's talk about the feel, felt, found method. You meet somebody for the first time. You're not going to talk about all of a sudden, oh, you gotta get in my business. It's gonna make you feel better. I got these good products. We're all gonna be rich. Blah 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 blah. People don't want to hear that. The barrier automatically goes up. No. They see commercials late at night saying the same thing. They're like, well, if these companies are willing to spend millions of dollars saying this, why am I going to listen to your broke ass telling me that I need to get rich? Get out of here with that. You're broke. You borrowed money from me last week. You talking about we're going to get rich. Instead, when you meet somebody or you're talking to somebody you know, talk to them. Ask questions. You want to control the conversation? The person who asks the most questions is controlling the conversation, and in the manner you do so. Now, just because you're asking the person who talks the most loses. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use it in that proportion. So here's what you do. Hey, how you doing, man? How do you do for a living? And shut up. Let them tell you what they do. You're going to understand what their personality trait is. You're going to understand what they've been doing. How long have you been doing that? And everything they say, you know what you say? That's fantastic. That's awesome. That's great. Assume that what they're doing is automatically the greatest in the world, because they will turn around and tell you the truth. The more somebody talks, the more the truth comes out. I was trained to be a lawyer. There's the reason why they say if you ever get arrested, shut up. Don't say nothing until you're, because the more you talk, the more you incriminate yourself. It's the same with real life. I love it when I get one of those loud-mouthed networkers I see on Facebook running their mouths about how great they are, how great their company is, how much money they're making. Give me 5 minutes with them and I'll get the truth. Next thing you know, oh, I haven't made any money yet. Oh, that was a rental car in the picture. My upline's not helping me. Everything that they were running their mouth was for show. Let them do the talking. Here's another trick, and I learned this trick in high school from my dad. I wasn't the best looking guy around. Far from it. I looked like Urkel. I was either called Urkel or Humpty Dump or Scottie Pippen. I was small, skinny, I had a big nose, I was short, weak, glasses, acne, bad haircut, mama picking out my clothes. I was not the type that you girls was trying to fawn over, but I loved girls. So my dad, he just said, "Yeah, you're just a late bloomer, but I'm going to tell you a trick that's going to get you more girls than everybody else." I said, "Oh, okay, tell me." He said, "This is what you do. When you talk to these girls, shut up and let them do all the talking." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Guys your age, they like to brag about what they're doing, who they are. I'm on the football team. I'm on the basketball team. I do this. I do that. I'm so great. Blah, blah, blah. Look at me. Look at me." Because that's how we are. That's just in our genes. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to try to be attractive to the other sex. I'm the captain of the football team. I'm supposed to get the cheerleader. Says, you do the opposite. When you talk to them, let them do all the talking instead. You just listen. Because most teenage boys don't listen. Huh, okay. So I tried it out. And you know what ended up happening in those first 2 years? I ended up becoming one of the most popular boys at my school for girls because I was a great listener. And I would, and my dad thought this was funny. I would be on the phone with a girl, and while she's talking, I have the phone barely hanging on my shoulder while I'm either playing video games with the TV on mute or watching wrestling or basketball or something. And I'm just going, uh-huh, mm-hmm. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. You're so awesome. You're so smart. How did you come up with that? I'm just boosting her ego up. And at the end of the conversation, even though I didn't say anything, she would say, you know, you are the greatest person to talk to. You're so good at conversation. No, I didn't say nothing. I just listened to you. You're not used to that. It was a trick. I got all the girls. Then when I finally had the transformation my senior year, that was a different story. But that stuck with me. Become a good listener. So you meet with somebody. You don't really know them that well. You're getting to know them. Ask them, what do you do for a living? How long have you been doing that? That's fantastic. Well, you must be very lucky. You know what they're going to turn around and say to you after the first minute or two? Well, not that lucky. Well, it's not that great. I really don't like it. I really don't like my job. 2 minutes ago, they said that they are the greatest job in the world. The truth comes out. And here's what you do. You feel their pain. You want to know why? Okay, if we look at the last 4 or 5 presidents, doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. I'm going to tell you who was able to connect with people. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, George W., Barack Obama. You want to know why they were successful? The ones who couldn't were the presidents beforehand and George Senior Bush. And then you look at the candidates. Why is Why is Jeb Bush having a lot of issues right now? Forget politics. Just look at the personalities. He can't relate to people. I'm gonna whoop Clinton. People laughed at that. Look at Dukakis. When he got in that tank and put that helmet on his head and he looked like a cartoon character, he was funny. He can't relate to that. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You want to know why Trump, even though he's saying some of the most craziest things around, because people can relate to him. Even the racists and the non-racists, they can relate to him. He's connecting with people. Nobody can connect with him. In your business, feel their pain. Even Clinton he would actually say it. I feel your pain. I know where you're coming from. That's why he's Hillary. When Hillary tries to say it, people laugh at her. You haven't driven in 16 years. What are you talking about? Daddy Bush didn't even know what a scanner was in a grocery store because he ain't been in a grocery store in 30 years. And you're going to try to relate to people. Yet Trump, multi-billionaire, and you got the poorest of the poor relating to him. How'd that happen? He doesn't live your life. But I feel your pain. So now people see, wow, you actually care about me. You understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm talking about. And then you say, I felt the same way. Now, your story may not be the same as theirs, but if you're good enough, you've heard other people whose story is similar. That's why I want you to point to know everybody's story, because I can use somebody else. I know somebody who went through the same issues as you, who was on a job, doesn't like that job. You're afraid of where you're going to be. That's the story. Where do you see us? Oh, it's not looking too good. You know, I felt the same way when I used to work a job. I didn't know where I was going to be 5 years from now. That was a scary thing. Here's the close. But what I found out was that if I got myself into a home-based business and had another source of income coming in, I didn't have to worry about what happened on my job. So if I got laid off, I had another income coming in. Greatest decision I've ever made. And shut up. Let them ask you what it is you do. Because in their mind, they're going to think, wow, that person understands what I'm going through. That person either went through what I'm going through or knows somebody who has. But the best thing is that person found a solution that I don't have yet. So if it works for them, it's going to work for me. What? Did you get that? I feel your pain, but I felt the same way, but I found a solution. What's your solution? I have enrolled over 179 people in my business. And guess what? I don't go out there and try to talk to anybody. I haven't pulled anybody. We took a company cruise last March. And one of the things I remember they were saying, you know, there's 3,000 people on this boat. Go out there and start mingling and meeting people. And people on my team were able to do that. That's not my comfort zone. I know how. I know how to do it better than most people. I just doing it. It's not my comfort zone. I don't just meet, you know, when they say, well, get on the plane and talk to the person next to you, you know, get to know. No. I get on a plane, put my hoodie on and my headphones, lean against the window and go to sleep. Don't bother me. Don't bug me. Some people don't believe that. What? You're an introvert? Yeah. You see me outside of business? That's right, Bill. You were on the plane with me. Bill was on the plane with me. Odette she was sitting right behind me. Odette met the person next to her. They exchanged numbers. I was knocked out asleep. Don't talk to me. It's not that I don't know how to have a conversation. It's just my personality. I want to be left alone. Being in this business takes me out of my comfort. Talking to people takes me out of my comfort zone. I've just mastered it. But when I'm in my downtime, I'm in my downtime. So how in the world is it that I can be the #1 producer in any company? How? I learned this skill, put it on the internet. So now I only deal with people who want to know about my business, who come to me, who ask me to join my business. I don't ask people to join my business. I accept people to join my business. Didn't start out that way. So I'm not telling you to do what I do. Do what I did in the beginning. When I did talk to everybody, I was active out there building my list, meeting people. That's how I know how to do this now. Then you get to a point where you will just attract the right people to you. I look at the last 30 or 40 people I've enrolled in the business, and I'm trying to think of any of them that I actually actively went out and went for. None of them. Feel, felt, found method. Another training will say, this is what, put this on the internet. Make 3 videos. First video, who are you? What is your background? Where do you come from? Second video, why did you join the company you're in? It's your solution. First video, you're not talking about your business at all. Nobody wants to hear about your business. About you. Who are you? The third video, you doing a presentation on your business. Think about that. Why do I say do it in that order? because it's showing yourself to be an expert. You're showing yourself to be an expert, and people want to work with the best. So when they look up your business, see, and I'm sure you've done this. People tell me all the time, how do I sign people up? The question I ask them then is, how did you sign yourself up? How did you get exposed to the business? Then do the same exact thing. It's a no-brainer. And then they go, oh, think about that. Yeah, how did you get involved? Do the same thing that got you excited. It's not complicated. It's the simple things. Do the simple things over and over. And since this is a Christmas holiday, I'm not going to keep you late like I did the last 2 weeks. I want to keep this under an hour. But that's the system. That's it. Feel, felt, found. You start off by knowing your story. What is your story? Who are you? Where do you come from? What were your struggles? See, you know what's funny about people? They find more interest in wanting to hear about the struggles you had than they want to hear about your success. Because if you're standing there talking about how great you are, they're like, oh, who's this asshole up there? I don't want to hear what they got to say. Don't rub it into my face. But if you stand up there talking about your struggles and your problems, why do you think reality TV gets so much rating? You want to see the downward spiral of people. That's what we're drawn to. You have your own problems, but it makes you feel good when you hear other people having problems. That's human nature. Share your problems, but don't stop at that. You share your solution to your problem. And your solution, their solution. Now, we only have, I'm only doing more training this year. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on the 19th, because the next Saturday after that is the day after Christmas, and I'm not doing it the day after Christmas. And the next Saturday after that is January 2nd, which defeats my purpose. I always want to do it before the New Year, 19th. Last year it kind of fell on the last Saturday was the last Saturday of the year. So this year, I made the decision. I'm going to do it on the 19th. And last year I did it was on The Secret. So the information that I'm going over tonight is the second most important information, skill for you to master on building your business. And when I'm talking about on the 19th, The Secret, I only do this once a year. Once a year training. That's the most important because it has to do with you. So you don't want to miss that one. So it's going to be the 19th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday. Wait a minute, I think I'm on the radio that night. I'll look at my calendar and I'll double check that. But for now, I'll say yes. I have a radio interview with iHeartRadio in Atlanta. I think that's the 18th, Friday. So good deal. And what I want to do is end this by playing a video for you. And the video I'm going to play is called How to Become a Master Recruiter. I have not seen this video in a while. I just know it was one of my popular ones. I think this had 3,000-4,000 views on it. How to become a not as well. No, my other one's The Psychology of Recruiting, but that's a 28-minute video. This one's shorter, so I'll play this one tonight. Not as good as The Psychology of Recruiting, but good enough. So thank you guys for joining us tonight for this training. Doesn't matter what company you're in. This is information that can benefit you on everything you do. I didn't even go through the slides. Feel, listen, felt, relate, solution. What is your solution? Who are you? What is your background? What is your experience? What is your success? What industry are you involved in? Where is it going? What are the trends? Is it possible? Company, products, comp plan, oh, that's for something else. That's another training. So here's the video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I am finally out of YouTube jail, so I can upload my own videos to my YouTube channel. So I'll be doing that immediately. So if you want to share this with your team and organization, you can do so. God bless. Have a good evening.